Hi, this is Tom Shanahan. I am the author of Spiritual Adrenaline, a lifestyle plan to strengthen and nourish your recovery. And I'm really, really thrilled to be joined by someone who's a friend of mine on a personal level, but also someone I respect professionally. And I've had on before as a guest in Spiritual Adrenaline talking about the different kinds of healing practices that he's engaged in. That's Charles West of New York City. Charles, thank you so much for taking time to come on and talk to the community today. Appreciate it.
Uh, Very happy to be here. I'm very grateful that you reached out to me, Tom.
I've known you a real long time, and we're going to go back in time, and then we're going to get back up to the present. But we have a special message for people out there in recovery going through this coronavirus, the pandemic, and just the really exceptional experiences that we're having.
Absolutely. The first thing I would say, breathe. Be sure to breathe.
Great advice.
No, breathe, breathe. Like really breathe. But the thing, and I was thinking about this a little while ago, because, right now we don't have access to our regular social groups, our recovery groups,
Right.
gym, all different kinds of things. And we may get the feeling and form the beliefs inside of us that this, of course, will mean that my life is stalling or stagnating,
Mm-hmm.
which then can also lead to people feeling and believing that, well, my recovery is certainly going to take a toll during this time as well. And I just want to share with people that it absolutely does not have to. Your recovery you can actually, if you really, really choose to commit to yourself, during this time, to use this time to nurture yourself, to nurture your spirit and your heart. You can nurture your body while you're at home. If you're fortunate enough to live near a park, you can go into a park and get some exercise. It's really important to be able to physiologically move our bodies, but we have to be able to train our mind and do something that I like to do, is building spiritual muscles.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me take you back, because for people out there, they're going to say, "Wow, this guy, you're really on it. You're right." We're going to talk about spiritual muscles left later, and I think what you just said is critical advice. But when we go back in time to 9/11, now that was another crisis, and it was a different experience for you at that time, right?
Ooh.
What was so what was different? It's great to hear that people grow, and that's a story of growth. So why don't you share with the audience what that
Absolutely.
experience was like for you compared to this one?
Well, I've heard many times from people over the last, well, I've been sober now for over 15 and a half years. And I've heard for quite a long time from people that I've met that when I share with them some of the tragedies, some of the trials that I've been through in my life, they're surprised, because they kind of think that I must have always been this way.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get at.
So not the case. So around the time of 9/11, well, I was living in the West Village, so not that far away from Ground Zero. And I was in a relationship at the time. At that time, we'd been together for about 5 years. And I woke up that morning and happened to witness the second tower collapse through my bedroom window. And then from there on, everything was just, life would never be the same. And the relationship that I was in, and the space that I was in. See, I didn't have any of the tools that I have now with 15 and a half years of recovery in my 12-step program, but also lots and lots and lots and lots of other things that I do in addition to that, to have a solid foundation in my life that I can build a beautiful life upon. So back at the time of 9/11, I witnessed that happen, and I had no tools to process and to deal with the trauma that I was experiencing and the fright that I was experiencing. And so I drank. and I acted out in a lot of ways that were very unhealthy. But I saw lots of other people doing it too. And so I kind of thought, well, this is how we get, this is how I didn't even think about it. I'm just like, this is what I know. This is all I know to get through this time.
Yeah.
And it frankly, a few years later, it almost killed me.
It's fun. It's a very timely story because I see people on Facebook and Instagram, saying, "Hey, I'm working from home," showing their
Yeah,
beer, all the beer, or the
right.
glass of wine. So people are
There
replicating
are
that.
plants growing in the corner and stuff like that.
Exactly.
You
The
know?
people, they're doing it now. They're doing
Yeah.
it now. And but like you say, that didn't really help with you, right? It led you in another direction.
Well, listen, I mean, some maybe, listen, maybe a lot of those people don't have addictive tendencies like a lot of other people do.
Mhm.
And maybe they can do that safely. I cannot. And frankly, with 15 and a half years of recovery, I consider my recovery to be a superpower. And, in the first couple of years of recovery, I thought of trying to get sober and have a life again.
Right.
I thought, Tom, I thought that being sober was the cruelest punishment. It was I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is the cruelest punishment. This
Right.
is a liability. This
Right.
is ridiculous. Now, because I am clear, I have no need, I have no desire to anesthetize or numb myself with anything. And so I'm able to completely feel everything, and I allow myself to feel my full spectrum of emotions that are appropriate for whatever it is that I'm going through.
Well, going back to the 9/11, how you handled it and what the experience was like, what lessons, if any, did you take away from that experience that have helped you to be more solid in the foundation of your recovery here today?
Well, one is that it's a process. It's a process. It doesn't happen all at once, um, and it's an inside job. It's an inside job. I know probably a lot of us have heard that before, but it's an inside job. You know, I these days, and for quite a few years now, I have developed a regime, a very, very healthy regime for myself of
Mhm.
emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual and psychological self care
Mhm.
for myself that is no longer anything that I really even have to think about. And I wish that, back at the time of 9/11 and actually way before that, I wish that I had a lot of the tools that I had now. I wish that I could, like the man that I am now, I wish that I could have a conversation with the Charles that I was back then
Right.
and give him some coaching, you
Right.
know?
I do. I do. But it is, I mean, you have to, sometimes it's a process. You said it's a process. You have to go through it, right?
Yeah, you
And
have to go through it.
it's those experiences that made you into where you are today. So let's just, so the people have an idea of your journey, which is an incredible journey.
Yeah.
9/11, you're an active addiction, and your response to this trauma that's happening all around you was to numb yourself and anesthetize yourself, as you said, with
Yeah.
alcohol, drugs, and maybe other things. So how long did it take you to get back on track? And then if we could follow the journey from there forward.
Well, first of all, I was never on track, really, in my life. I never really was on track. Um, and it took, uh, so my sobriety date is October 8th of 2004.
Hmm.
And I got sober in Miami Beach. I ended up moving to Miami Beach for a few years to get some time and space away from New York. And that's where I got sober. And during that time, I was suffering. Every single area of my life had completely fallen apart, and I had to start over. I had to completely start over, and I managed to put together a year, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I still was frightened. I still I still felt like a scared little boy,
Hmm.
and yet somehow I knew I think I have a life again.
Hmm.
What do I want to do with it? And I prayed about it, and eventually, what I received, was, it's time for me to move back to New York,
Hmm.
and so I planned for 6 months this eventual move back to New York, and I just felt the energies of the universe conspiring to support me in every way, making it possible for me to move back with a job waiting for me in the West, in the West Village, and an apartment to sublet up in Washington Heights, and things, and a home groups to go to,
Right.
and things were lining up for myself. But it took quite a long time, and I didn't have, even at that time, Tom, if a mentor of mine had, I mean, this happened, a mentor of mine suggested that I do a gratitude list. And this is while I was living in Miami Beach. And so I got out a folder, I sat at my dining room table, got out a pen, and I wrote gratitude list, the top of the page. One, dot. And then I sat there, and I sat there, and I sat there for what felt like a long, long time. And you know what? I couldn't think of a single thing.
Wow.
It was really, really sad. I couldn't. And then I beat the crap out of myself. I'm like, you see what a loser you are?
Mm.
Can't even think of one single thing to be grateful for. That's where I was 15 years ago, even with a few months of sobriety. So these days, I live my life with an undercurrent of gratitude, no matter what's going on. Even when something really, really traumatic occurred, like, as you know, 3.5 years ago, I had a really unexpected experience.
You should share. You should share that with the people that are watching this.
Sure. Yeah.
That's
Well,
probably one of the most serious things that could possibly happen to a human being, and it happened to you with no notice. So.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, we talked, and we did talk about this in our previous interviews
Hmm.
together as
Hmm.
well. And so, you know, I had gotten married in October of 2015, and then, everything was going great. My life, everything was lining up. My recovery was great. I felt so blessed about how everything was going in my life. And then in August of 2016, um, I ended up receiving a cancer diagnosis for something that is so rare that it is inoperable and untreatable. The doctors at Memorial Sloan Kettering, where I went, and uh, offered me and gave me, and I received them, very, very, very harsh uh, drugs that were extremely hard on my body. Um, you may remember how I looked different 2 years
I
ago.
do remember. Hmm.
You know, my hair was almost completely white from the drugs that I was taking, and um,
You had no color, no
I would keep
coloring.
getting scans, and they would take biopsies and stuff, and they're saying then there was no improvement after 16 months of using these very, very harsh drugs. And finally, I said, I can't use this anymore. And then right around that time, they said, oh, well, there's this new drug study that you're a candidate for that you can do. So go off this one drug for 6 weeks, and you can start these two other new ones. And I'm like, I prayed about it, I meditated about it, and I'm like, okay, 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 higher power, what am I going to do with this? And I decided I'm going to look at it as an opportunity and an adventure. And if the time comes for me to stop doing it, I'll know it. And so I participated in this clinical drug study,
Right.
6 or 7 months. It was even harsher on my body. And I would get a CAT scan, I'd get biopsies, and again, it was showing that it wasn't effective in helping to eliminate this cancer diagnosis. And so finally, I realized that, listen, I I have by then I had formed my business, Divine Spark Coaching, and I had been studying and teaching and training and uh, developed these spiritual muscles and this knowing deep within my heart and deep within my soul that there are, as you know, there are higher frequencies of operation in the universe that are going on than just Western science. And so I chose to turn this diagnosis of whatever it may be and give it to the universe to
Mhm.
take care of. And I am going to learn every single lesson that this diagnosis came to teach me. And that is what I have been doing, so that I have been able, as you know, to transcend every single shred of fear, worry, and anxiety about having this diagnosis.
So
And
people out there are going to wonder what happened. Are you still being treated, or what's your
I'm
status?
not treated. I'm not being treated. I do have a cat. My last visit to Memorial Sloan Kettering was last September, and I have a CAT scan that's scheduled in a few weeks. I don't know if it's still going to happen right now,
Oh.
but the thing is, from the level of Western science, if all there's a lot they don't know.
I agree with
There's a lot we don't know. But if they can measure it, if they can see it on a scan, if they can biopsy it, if they can poke at it or whatever, then that makes it real,
you. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Just like our anxiety, or anybody who has anxiety,
Sure.
just like anybody who's dealing with depression, just like anybody who's dealing, well, or in someone's recovery.
I just want to say, first of all, you are one of the healthiest people I know these days. So, what you're doing is working,
Yeah.
and you were able to build what you refer to as spiritual muscles for yourself. There you go, there you go. And now you're able to help other people. So, I'd like to focus on that. Number one, when you say spiritual muscles, what does it mean? Okay, how were you able to do it? And how can other people benefit, both in addiction recovery and
Mm.
people who may not identify as being in that community, from the lessons that you've learned in your life?
So what I mean by spiritual muscles is basically it's all of the a lot of the things, all of the things that I did not have access to at the time of 9/11. I had no regime. I had no, other than going to the gym because I wanted to look great. um, I had no inner spiritual self-care for
Mm-hmm.
myself at the time. And so spiritual muscles refers to basically almost anything that you may do throughout the course of a day that is a demonstration of self-love, kindness, uh, service to others. Uh, Definitely not picking up a drink or a drug is building spiritual muscles. But in particular, for instance, journaling, doing a gratitude list, going to therapy, going to the gym when you can, going out for for a bike
Mm-hmm.
ride or a walk in the park,
Mm-hmm.
all different kinds of things. And even these days, right now, earlier today, I did a virtual core fitness, and it kicked my ass. Core fitness, a virtual workout with my friend Roderick. It was amazing, and there's all these different things. But this building the spiritual muscles, I kind of use the analogy that we're living in this life. We're living in this spiritual gym, and every single time I'm doing a gratitude list, with
Mm-hmm.
every single thing I'm writing down, I literally, it's like I'm doing a rep. I'm doing a rep in the spirit. Every single time, I've got a stack of daily reflection books right here on my dining room table, and I read all three of them every single morning. But then I don't stop there. I take photographs of one or two of them, and I share them with people. Every single time I do that, I'm building spiritual muscles in my life, and I'm helping other people build them in theirs.
And
So
this is
you
a guy who years ago couldn't think of anything to put on his gratitude list.
no, it's
It's
true.
amazing. It's
It's
amazing.
absolutely true, Tom. I could not think of one thing. So I and listen. In the past week, I have talked to And I get kind of emotional even just thinking about, I've talked to so many people all around the world right now that are suffering, really, like literally, in Italy, in England, it's, I mean, all over the world, Australia. And sometimes I just, you know, we'll be in the moment of a quiet little moment during our conversation, and I'll invite them to put their hands on their heart chakra and just take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in with me. Tom, would you do that with me right now?
Yeah,
Take a deep
I'll
breath
do that. I'm more than happy.
and breathe out. Now, I want you to bring to mind something that you could feel extremely grateful for if you choose to. What's something that you could feel extremely grateful for if you chose to?
My health.
Bless your health.
Mm.
As you breathe out, just say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Literally. And breathe in. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Now, what's something else? Something else.
My sobriety.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm going to do that too. One more time.
Thank you, thank you.
Now, one more thing. What's another thing? One more thing.
And my mom's healthy and alive.
How did I know that? I knew you were going to. Okay.
She's
And
probably watching, so say hi, Mom.
for our moms. This is for our moms.
For our moms, okay.
Yep. Yeah. You just lit up, man. You lit up.
That's great.
You lit up. So what this is, so this very simple little exercise, this type of it's almost kind of like a mantra. It's a meditation. It doesn't matter what you call it, really. What it's doing, it's building spiritual muscles, because what it is doing, it is softening our heart. We are broadcasting. We are broadcasting out into the universe love. We're turning the volume up on the bio. Now, this is the scientific part of this. The gratitude is the most powerful creative force vibrationally that exists. And so when we are turning the volume up on our expression of it, and especially when we're sharing it with somebody else, which you and I are doing, and we're going to be doing with everybody else that's going to be watching this, increases exponentially. So this is just one thing that I do actually kind of throughout the course of my day in different ways. I don't always do it the same way. But the thing is, Tom, the cool thing about this is that this is something you can do anywhere and everywhere. Yeah. You can do it when you're in the shower. You can do it when you're preparing your breakfast. You can do it when you're sitting on the sofa or any time at all.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I started to make a gratitude list about all the things I take for granted that I did before the coronavirus pandemic broke out. Uh-huh. Like go to the gym, like see my neighbors.
Yeah.
Like talk to people face to face. Like I'm making a list now, and it's reminding me, Charles, how and you're reminding me. It's because of the breath work.
Let me ask you this. I bet I already know your answer to this. So quite a few years ago, I came up with this coaching exercise, which I'm gonna give you, okay? And for our viewers. And so you've done gratitude lists for quite a while, right? Yeah. So when you do a gratitude list, how many things do you usually write down?
It depends on my mood. Sometimes it's as few as 1 to 5, and sometimes I wind up coming up with 20 to 30 and more. Sometimes.
So, and over the years, when I ask people, "Hey, do you do a gratitude list?" The people who say yes, then I ask them, "Well, how many things do you write down on it?"
Right.
And most people will say 5. Some people might say 10. Usually 10 is kind of the most. And just think like, that's kind of really limited, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought like 10 years ago that it's like, because I was doing a gratitude list, and I'm like, here's 5 things. Okay, that's done. Next, what's the next thing I have to do?
That's right. That's right.
And so what I started doing, and I came up with this exercise, and I call it the gratitude challenge.
Okay.
Are you up for it?
I'm definitely up for it. I
Okay,
hope
so
everybody who watches this that they're up for it too.
yeah,
Let's do it.
So let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 30, how good would you like to be able to feel in your life all the time?
Um, about 25.
Oh, not 30?
Well, because when I have a bad or a challenging day, it makes me
Okay.
more grateful for the really great days. So
Okay.
that's why I say that. But okay, we'll go with 30. How about
Attaboy. All right. So, gratitude challenge is 30 things.
okay.
It's
Oh,
30.
I like that. 30 things that will
30.
get me where I want to be, right?
Yeah.
Like to
Yeah.
think about those 30 things I'm grateful for.
But what happens? So, and this happens with almost everybody that I give this exercise to. And it definitely happened with me when I started doing it. I would get 10 things pretty easily. And they were usually kind of the same 10 things every time when I would do the list. And so when most people do the gratitude challenge, they get to 15 pretty easily.
Right.
And they get to 20, and then they're like, you start looking around wherever it is you are. Like, well, what else am I grateful for? What else? What else? And what I say to people, write down the little things too. Write down the things that maybe you don't even usually think of, or like you said, which I love, maybe write down some of the things that maybe you tend to take for granted
Every day.
you know and then you get to 25, and what happens when you do this exercise regularly, what happens when you get to 20 to 25 and you get to 30, you feel this expansion.
Right.
You literally, and I've heard people say this over and over and over again, you feel this stretch, like this spiritual muscle is
Right.
like
Right.
it's stretching. And then I've had people, and so then the thing is, once you do the 30, then what I offer to people, snap a photograph of it and text it or email it to somebody.
Somebody else.
Whenever gratitude is shared, it magnifies.
That's amazing. So we're segueing into what you really are doing these days, which is divine spark coaching,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So you've just given two examples, and I got to tell you, you can see the smile on my face because the breath work, the reflection, the
Yeah.
gratitude,
Yeah.
even though we're in a public kind of a setting now, I know people are going to watch this, I'm kind of giddy. So it works. So it works. So I'm like, let's just talk about people need help, Charles. People are struggling right now and getting
Yeah.
through what we're going through. And how can Divine Spark coaching play a role with them and helping to fulfill
Oh,
build those spiritual muscles
yeah.
in a time when they're going to need them?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so when I initially formed Divine Spark Coaching, I had multiple certifications in life coaching, and in the past year, I've added to my spiritual toolbox multiple certifications in hypnotherapy, primarily something called rapid transformational therapy, or RTT, and it's it is an unbelievable style of hypnotherapy that was created by my teacher and mentor, Marissa Peer. She is the grande dame of hypnotherapy on the planet, and she was the therapist to Princess Diana, the royal family,
Wow.
and now she's all over Mind Valley, Mind Valley, all over I mean, she's like all over the world teaching and training people, and so I trained with her in London last year, and so now I have different types of services that I offer to people that want to work with me.
Mhm.
Most of the people that work with me these days do something I created a service called hypno coaching. So it is a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 month program with me, one-on-one. It's not a group thing. It's one-on-one. And people have an opportunity to receive one-on-one laser coaching with me.
Mhm.
And then the 2 hour RTT session once a month. And then after that, for the rest of the month, customized laser coaching with me pretty much whenever it's needed.
What is laser? 'Cause I'm not familiar. What does laser coaching mean? What can people
What
expect?
what I mean by that, so laser getting to the point of what's going on, like a laser beam. So it's so like because there are some people that coach and they're kind of not really offering like a laser beam, like a strong dynamic tool that's really going to bring about change. Laser coaching is something that goes right to the point of what's going on.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah, that's what I mean by laser coaching.
Awesome. And so, if someone's interested in working with you, how would they go about contacting you?
Well, first of all, my website is divinesparkcoaching.net.
Mm-hmm.
That's divinesparkcoaching.net. And then on there, you can learn more about me. You can watch and read tons and tons and tons of video testimonials, written testimonials.
Mm-hmm.
And also then my email address is divinesparkcoachingllc@gmail.com. So you can write me there.
Mm-hmm. You're also on social media. I've seen posts on Facebook, I believe.
Oh, correct? Yeah. Divine Spark Coaching on Facebook. I mean, I do have an Instagram page, but that's more of a personal page.
Okay. So we've got to wrap it up, but I just wanted to see if we could just close with some words of wisdom to people during this really difficult time for our country, for our world, for our friends, our neighbors. Just whatever advice you think can really benefit people. Go ahead.
So, I have a colleague and a good friend who is a doctor. He's an American citizen, and for about 6-7 years, he's been living in northern Italy. And his downstairs neighbor passed away yesterday, and in one day, he said 457 people died in Italy. And so, and I was in Italy 2 years ago on a vacation, and it was, it's one of my favorite places in the world. And this time that we're in dealing with the uncertainty of the coronavirus can be very, very unsettling to a lot of people. And for some people, indeed, the reality for some people, unfortunately, is very tragic. And my heart is sent out to everyone, every single one of those people that are hurting right now.
Yeah.
And so for those of us that are doing well, that are, that have these spiritual muscles, and that, listen, this world needs us. This world needs us. This world needs us in recovery. This world needs us to build these spiritual muscles. So do the gratitude challenge. Do this exercise together. Pray on your knees at the foot of your bed, if you will. Start your morning. Okay. A lot of people think that setting yourself up for success every day begins first thing in the morning. It actually begins the night before.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Amen.
How you prepare yourself to go to bed, and how you set yourself up for success the next day.
You have so much wisdom. It's not wisdom learned in books. It's wisdom that I get emotional as I say this.
Yeah.
Learned the hard way.
We've been through it, Tom.
We have been through it. And you didn't even talk about that you were in a coma when you were using and how you came out of the coma. So, you have great wisdom. You can't keep what you have without giving it away. Clearly, you're now doing that to help other people achieve their goals and live the life of their dreams. And I think these days, Charles, it's more needed than ever before. So thank you. Thank you.
I would just want to offer a gift. I want to offer a gift to people who may be watching this, and to you and anyone that you would like as well. So I am going to create a hypnosis recording on relieving stress and anxiety during this time.
Okay, great.
And so it will be maybe like around 15 minutes long. And so if anyone watching this would like for me to send it to them, please feel free to email me, and I will email it to you.
You know, we'll do. We have over 80,000 people on our Facebook page, so I'll make sure we'll do an announcement if you have the video in
That
addition to this interview.
it'll
And if
probably
people,
be audio. It'll
what, I'm
probably
sorry,
be a,
an audio,
yeah,
that's fine. We'll let
yeah.
them know. We'll let them know they can reach out to you and they can download it. And again, you are a walking example of why the steps work, but also more
Amen.
importantly, how a holistic approach to life and recovery and interacting with other people works greatly. So thank you so much. Divine Spark Coaching is Charles's organization. You can reach out to him and take advantage of his skill, learn living life on life's terms. Charles, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share this with the spiritual adrenaline community.
Bless you, Tom. Thank you very much.